All right, let's talk a little football. We'll stick with Rory from Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Mary Kay, what percentage likelihood do you believe that Deshaun Watson will regain his elite status among NFL quarterbacks?
Well, I'll tell you what, I feel a lot different about it now than I did before they signed 3 more pass catchers for him. Now I think he really does have a chance to be one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. I do think that quarterbacks are only as good as the weapons around them. And now that they've added Elijah Moore, they've added Marquise Goodwin, and they've added Jordan Akins, I think when you bring those guys into the fold with Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, now I feel like that's a competitive pass catching group. Before this transaction cycle, I was very concerned about it. And I still actually think that, they could go ahead and add one more really, really good receiver. You can't have too many. Look at the Kansas City philosophy. They just threw bodies at it this year, and they were able to come up with some really, really good weapons for Patrick Mahomes. So I feel a lot better about it now. And I think that Deshaun has a very strong chance of being very successful.
Yeah, I think it was really important to go out and add a guy like Elijah Moore, add Marquise Goodwin, just add to this, the throwing bodies at it philosophy, although Elijah Moore is a little more than that. But just to really make that investment in helping Deshaun Watson, regain kind of what he was in Houston. And that I'm wondering what they're going to value in the draft. Like, there are some speedy guys in the draft that are really interesting, and they're going to be in a position where they can maybe get some of those guys late. So I'm with you. I don't know that they're necessarily done adding to this wide receiver room. And I think a lot of these guys, now that they've sort of had a year to digest what Deshaun likes and what can work, and Kevin's had some time to figure that out, it does feel like, especially Moore and Goodwin seem to fit with what they want to do with Watson.
Yeah, I mean, it really brings necessary speed to the offense. They really didn't have it unless you really believed that Anthony Schwartz was going to be able to get it together and contribute this season. And right now, there's really no evidence that that's going to happen. He's got a lot to prove, and I don't think they're counting on it. That's why they went out and got these 2 guys in part. They needed to add that element of speed, and they did it. Now they've got a couple of those smaller Beckham Jr. type of smaller, shiftier guys on this offense. Now, the thing about it is that it probably precludes OBJ from coming back. And I, for one, was kind of looking forward to the possibility of him coming back here for a lot of different reasons. But now it seems like that's probably not going to happen unless his market, really kind of bottoms out at the price that he's looking for and they can get him on the cheap. I just don't see it happening necessarily. So again, never say never, but I was a little bit disappointed that he's not coming back.
I'm just thinking about this as we're talking about it. I know that obviously they went out and they made that trade for Amari Cooper to bring him in. But they did kind of go into last year leaning heavily on Anthony Schwartz developing, Donovan Peoples-Jones developing. They drafted Michael Woods. They were going to use Jakeem Grant more, but he obviously ruptured his Achilles. So that went out the window. But does it, I kind of hate this theory and I don't necessarily agree with it, but does it feel a little bit like maybe with the looming suspension and all of that maybe they did avoid going completely all in last year? Or am again, I'm just throwing that out as we're talking about this. So I don't know if I even believe that, honestly.
You know what? I think they overestimated Deshaun's ability to step in and be successful in this offense right away, and also overestimated his ability to elevate the play of everyone around him. I think he will elevate the play of everyone around him once he gets his sea legs. But I don't think you can step in and all of a sudden turn Anthony Schwartz and David Bell and Michael Woods into productive NFL receivers right away. I think that takes time. I think it takes effort. I think it takes experience. And now they have some experience at those positions. If they had gone into this season without getting Elijah Moore and Marquise Goodwin, you're right back to trying to rely on some really, really young guys on a wing and a prayer. And you just can't do that. You have to know that these guys can go out and produce. What you don't need is for Deshaun Watson to kind of be like raising those, shrugging those shoulders about, hey, where were you? Why didn't you look back for that? He doesn't need that. He needs somebody that can anticipate what he's about to deliver. And it can come from anywhere. It can come from